Everyone, welcome to our July 2021 Board of Supervisors meeting. Before we call the meeting to order, I'd like to remind everyone to either turn off your phones or put them on vibrate. If not, you'll have to take everyone in the room to lunch, and that could be very expensive. So I hope you're all enjoying the rain. I know our crews have been busy out there, so we'll go ahead and so I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. And Mr. Sullivan, if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Craig. Okay, next item is the adoption of the agenda. Madam Manager, are there any changes to our agenda?
Yes, sir. Under our item F, Jail District, number 1, we need to table for our next board meeting, please.
Okay, so this will, is that the August meeting?
I think we should do it for the August 3rd. I believe it's August 3rd.
Okay, not a problem. That's the only change. So at this time, Chair will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as posted and delivered with item F in the Jail District table to the August 3rd, 2021 board meeting.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the agenda and allow Chair to deviate.
I already did.
Okay, so I've got two motions. I'll second it. How's that? That's cool. We're a team. We both want to get this thing done. So there are two motions and one second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries and our agenda is adopted. We will move on to item C, call to the public. And I know there was a gentleman, Mr. Dotson. Are you on the phone, sir?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, please, go ahead, sir. Well, there's a little bit of feedback. Are you there? You unmute yourself. Is it Harry?
Yes, sir. Adoption.
So Harry, we're going to go ahead and unmute you, or you unmute yourself. If you're on the phone, what is it, *6?
I'm here now. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you fine, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm calling this morning on in my capacity as the president of the board for the Fairgrounds Association here in Sonoyta, and I just wanted to take a few minutes this morning on behalf of our board, our members, to just simply say thank you to the county, the Board of Supervisors, for your continued support over the course of the years. We, like everyone, have had an interesting up and down last 18 months, but I thought it was important to just make sure that the Board of Supervisors knew and understood that we're still here, we're still operating, we're still making it. We've had, again, like everybody, some ups and downs, but we feel very comfortable about where we're at right now. And even though we had to cancel one of our premier events, the races, in May, we are continuing with our other events. And in fact, the rodeo, the Labor Day rodeo, is scheduled, obviously, for the Labor Day weekend. It's being planned. It is our 106th rodeo. And then immediately following the rodeo, later in September, we will have the county fair. And the dates for the fair are the September 17th through September 19th. Our folks here are working diligently on that, working with the county superintendent's office of the schools to ensure that we have a successful day on Friday the 17th, school day. But again, we just wanted to just say thank you to everybody. Your support is much appreciated. and that we are moving forward here in Sonoyta. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be more than glad to try to answer them for you.
Thank you, Harry. Unfortunately, under call to the public, you can't do that. But
That's right. You're right. I apologize. I should have known that. I apologize.
that's okay. It happens to the best of us, my friend. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Take care, gentlemen.
Great. Anyone else on the call before I call the people that have given me the slip? Anyone else wishing to address the board at this time under call to the public? If you're on the phone, it is... Where is it? Is it star 9? To raise your hand. Okay. See no one else on the call, then I will go to Jeff Terrell. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I just wanted to give an update on the COVID here in Santa Cruz County. As my updates have been being sent to you guys, you may have seen a little up and down. It's kind of like a roller coaster. I think the most we've seen is 10 cases in the last couple of weeks. We're attributing some of that to family get-togethers of the 4th of July, as well as some travel to Mexico. We're seeing that. Most of the cases are family units that we're seeing. So if anybody is showing symptoms or anything like that and want to get tested, there's testing available from the county as well as Mariposa, NextCare Urgent Care as well. I know NextCare and I believe Mariposa have the rapid tests, so they're available. We also want to put out that there is still vaccines available through the local pharmacies such as Walgreens, Walmart, Food City, Rio Rico, as well as Mariposa. So we just want to encourage people that haven't been vaccinated to get vaccinated because that's some of our cases as well.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Yeah. Jennifer.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the public. Today it's my honor to recognize Dan Menifee. So Dan, if you could come up, and Mr. Dillon, if you could come up as well. Dan is going to be leaving us at the end of this month. And I want to thank the board for your support in these employee recognitions. I think they're very important to recognize our employees who have done an outstanding job for us, and just to say thanks to them. So Chairman Reese, I'll turn it over for you right now.
And Lizzie, you can come up closer. I mean, there's up here in front. I mean, it's important. So I think Dan will stay retired until his wife says, honey, you need to do this, and then maybe he'll come back. But I know Dan Menifee, and as my wife calls him, Alberto. I think she's the only one that calls you Alberto because you graduated from high school together. And they look to see, because they think you worked here in the 80s?
Yes.
So there's more than 21 years or so that you have spent here at county government, but this is what we have for you. It says Dan Menifee has been an employee of Santa Cruz County since February 14th of 2000. Dan has held multiple titles throughout his career in the community development, including building inspector from February 14th, 2000 to May 3rd, 2015. Currently, Dan is the chief building official and has served in that role since 2015. Dan's core function as chief building official include lead plan reviewer, building inspector, supervisor, overall great guy, straight shooter, car enthusiast, and resident county historian who kindly shares his institutional knowledge to ensure the best possible service. Dan currently holds a residential building inspector and building official certification from the International Code Council. Dan's smile and Hawaiian shirts, even though you're not wearing one today, brighten the community development, and he will be missed as he moves into retirement. We wish him the best in his new chapter in life. Dan, thank you so much. Congratulations. So, gentlemen, so we'll let you say a few words. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Dan. This is Frank.
Mr. Bright. Thank you.
So The floor is yours, my friend.
First and foremost, I want to thank the Board of Supervisors for one thing, putting up with me all these years. Yes. And also the people that work in the health department, the county assessor, public works, also for putting up with me all these years. And it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor, you know, to work in this capacity for the county. This was actually something that I wanted to do many, many years before I came to work for the county. When I was working in manufacturing, this was a job that for some reason I always wanted to do. One of my wishes was also to work out in the Sonoyta area. Reason for that, my grandparents, they homesteaded out by the San Rafael, and Mr. Hathaway's family and ours, they go back over 100 years. When I first met David, we were going to the U of A, if I remember right, and we were at the student union having breakfast, and somehow we introduced each other, and that was the first time actually I met David. But getting back, it's been a challenging job. I really enjoyed it, and I just thought it was time, you know, for me to retire. Being that my wife just retired, I figured I was going to give her 1 month of rest, and then I was going to land, so to speak. Yes, I figured 1 month was more than enough for her to, you know, to rest, you know, without me being in the house 24/7. Yes, but Mr. Valdez also, I want to thank him for helping me all these years too. Yes, and Mr. Dillon, he's a great guy. He's a great guy, and you guys need to hold on to him. Don't let him get away from you. Yes, keep him.
Yep.
Mary Dahl, I want to thank Mary Dahl because she's one of the people that gave me the opportunity to do this job, and for her support as well. And I will miss you always, and Frank as well. The gentleman from Patagonia, I'm sorry, I can't quite remember your name. Ron, also working with Ron and with the town of Patagonia. That's been a great pleasure for me, working out there and doing their inspections and their plan reviews. Yes, lots of great people. I want to thank you all.
Well, Dan, or Alberto, as my wife calls you, I want to thank you for your service. And
You're welcome.
I know that there were numerous challenges, but we always got an opportunity to say hi, and you tell me what you were doing. And while we all understand there's a point in time that maybe it's time to move on, what you have done here in the county will not go unnoticed. And usually it takes a while to get someone to fill your shoes because of your knowledge, of your enthusiasm, and your caring with the way you carried out yourself in a professional manner to assist all the residents of Santa Cruz County with their building needs. So I thank you. I wish you a long retired life, and if you get bored and you need to do something, we may be able to find something for you. But gentlemen, anything else to add?
Okay.
Mr. Moleta, Supervisor Moleta.
Dan, I too personally want to thank you because I've known you for a while in a different capacity as a contractor. You always worked with me, and a couple of things come to mind. You know, the acronyms, I think, are loyal. You have been truly loyal. When you work for an organization, you want someone to be loyal, humble. You know, you didn't get a big head or anything as you went up the ladder. Always honest, humble, and dedicated to this community. And worked with people. You know, I think that's a good quality that our organization has, that when people have an issue, you always worked with people. You know,
Correct.
You didn't shove them aside. You did an amazing job, and I hope you help us in the transition. I hope I don't get in trouble with your wife, but we are going to need your help in the transition of getting someone to replace you.
You got it. You got it.
But I want to wish you the best retirement in the world. You deserve it. Both you and your wife. You're wonderful people, and may God bless both of you.
Likewise, likewise.
Vice Chairman. Thank you. Dan, I just want to thank you for your commitment to this community. You've shown that throughout your career, even when you weren't working at the county, you were always a community-oriented person, and that's just so important in these small places. So congratulations on your retirement, and hope this, don't be a stranger.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else under call to the public? Seeing no one rushing up to the podium, then we will go to item D, current events. 1, Board of Supervisors, Vice Chairman Bracker.
Chairman Reese, thank you very much. There's been some work going on the PM Ranch out in Tubac. Fortunately for everybody, the laser leveling project is almost over. They're moving into seeding, irrigating, and so there's been some questions from the community. The PM Ranch put out a great piece of communication about what they want to do, their history, earlier in the week. So want to thank them for doing that, and thank you very much. And that's what I have to report. And welcome back from your trip. I also like to welcome Ron Robinsons and Michael Stabile from the town of Patagonia. Michael, you're still Vice Mayor? Great. Welcome. Thanks for coming to our meeting.
Welcome. It's good to see the town of Patagonia at our meeting, so hope you can make more. Supervisor Maleta.
Good morning.
Morning.
A couple things to report. I also had the honor of attending the NACO conference. It was good to congregate in an actual conference and not be in a Zoom situation and network with your colleagues from all over the nation. It's a great conference, amazing speakers, just good to kind of be back to a little normal. You know, I know we're having a little hiccups with our vaccines, but I'm being very optimistic, and hopefully things will normalize sooner rather than later. We've had some good rains, some real good rains, as our chairman said. I want to thank Public Works because they've been working diligently, very hard. I've seen them out there even during the rain, cleaning up right after the storm hits. So it's great to see our crew out there working day and night. I also want to thank, we've had our challenges with Fisher Contractor on the west side of Rio Rico with all the dust and the lights and noise, and it seems as though they're making a change. They're moving not to Green Valley the way initially we thought they were, but they're going to move, I'd say, what about a mile?
10 miles.
1,000 feet. 1,000, we wish a mile. 1,000 feet. But the good thing is that they're using like a 40-foot barrier to protect our community against the dust and the noise and the lights, because they still will be working till October. So that's just a little update on that project. And again, I want to thank Dan for his loyalty, his hard work to Santa Cruz County. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Maleta. Real quick, it was exciting to be able to attend a conference in person. First day of the conference on Friday, we had Vice President Harris speak to our group. You know, I wish she would have allotted a little more time, but 20 minutes is probably a lot. But she had some very good comments. The next day we had Speaker Pelosi, and they talked about infrastructure, about some of the things. It was interesting to get her take on how the House and the Senate are so different. And one of her takes, which was very interesting, was she says, when you look at the House of Representatives, you have a lot of members that are former county commissioners or participated in county or city government. But when you go to the Senate side, he said most of the people there are either governors or something else, so they have a very interesting view of how to proceed. Secretary of Transportation was there touting the president's infrastructure move for funding. It was also great to see a lot of the colleagues that we haven't seen in 2 years. I want to congratulate my colleague, Supervisor Moleta. He's one of the vice chairs of the membership committee. And so there was 3 appointments from the president to the NACO. I think Lena Fowler was appointed as a vice chairman to one of the committees, and then yours truly, the chairman of the Immigration Task Force. Important to be involved. It was great. Our next conference, I guess, is going to be in Salt Lake City for the Western Interstate region. And then next July, legislative conference in either mid-February to late February, and then the other conference, which will be in Adams County near the Denver area. So exciting times. It was great. The facilities were nice, and we were able to network and get a lot of things done. So for that, I'm very thankful. And finally, please, even if you are vaccinated, take precautions. Continue to wash your hands. If you aren't feeling too well, please wear a mask, not just for you, but for those, as Jeff mentioned. I think most of the cases are family members, so we want to make sure that this Delta variant that's going across the country doesn't get out of hand again, and you know, that we have to have those drastic measures that we had previously to protect the health, safety, and welfare of all our residents. So with that, I will move on to item 2. Madam Manager, good morning.
Good morning again. I also attended the NACO annual conference. As county managers, we had a session where we had some good information on the American Rescue Plan and some idea sharing. One thing to note is many of the entities are going to wait till that final rule comes out for the American Rescue Plan, so that's why you haven't seen some of the money getting out to the communities yet. And I also thought that we had great speakers. I was very impressed by the speakers that spoke to us. Very motivational and great ideas, as both supervisors have mentioned. That's all I have to report.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to item E, department reports and activities. 1, finance, cash, investment, expenditure, and revenue reports. Mauricio, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The cash and investment report, the general fund has an overall balance of $14,339,984 with an investment amount of $6,785,000. The road fund has an overall balance of $2,078,938 with an investment amount of $815,000. The flood control district fund has an overall balance of $2,640,691 with an investment amount of $1,861,000. The jail district has an overall balance of $1,292,000 with an investment amount of just a little bit over $1 million. Total for all funds, overall balance, $37,358,185, with investment amount of $12,278,000. Estimated end of the month balance, $11,282,877.
Great. Gentlemen, any questions of Mr. Chavez?
No, sir.
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So we'll go on to action item. Craig, do you mind if I leave you to the end? We can get through the other thing and I give you a little more time with the board. So at this time, since we have our vice mayor and manager of the town of Patagonia, we'll go down to item number 10, that is discussion, possible action to approve intergovernmental agreement with the town of Patagonia for law enforcement services in the amount of $358,434. Madam Manager.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is an IGA that we've been working with the town of Patagonia to provide law enforcement services for the town. It is a one-year agreement with options to renew. The town manager, Robinson, and I will be reviewing that contract after 6 months and just making any adjustments that, we may need to make. The total amount's $358,434. And you'll see the item below it, the estimated needs would be for us to fill 3 deputy positions as a result of this IGA. And so that's really the highlights of it. I'll entertain any questions the board may have. We have both the sheriff and the town here.
Gentlemen, any questions, comments?
I'd like to congratulate the town of Patagonia for working with the county to come up with a way that I believe is a cost savings for the general public. And I support that, and I think that we should be looking for that in as much as we can in our small community. So thank you for doing that work, that hard work.
Anything to add, Supervisor Malone?
I'd just like to ask the sheriff how we're doing with staffing. Is it just 3 we need to come back up to?
Yes, the terms of the IGA require on-site coverage of approximately 15 hours a day. That's guaranteed on-site coverage, not just driving through, not just responding to 911 calls, actually on-scene coverage, slightly more than 15 hours a day. So we're stretched thin right now. We're doing it with command staff. We're doing it with LEAs, volunteers, and with our regular patrol. Even though the IGA hasn't been in effect, we want this to succeed, so we've been providing the coverage right now. That will get us through this initial period, and then when we reevaluate, there's the condition, as Jennifer pointed out, to reevaluate down the road. But that will allow us to provide the coverage and not be stretched thin the way we are right now.
Great.
Ron or Vice Mayor, anything to add that you'd like to add? I mean, we're good. You guys good? We're excellent. Great, good.
Thank you, Sheriff.
So,
Mr. Chairman.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the intergovernmental agreement with the town of Patagonia for law enforcement services in the amount of $358,434.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, and we look forward to our partnership with the town of Patagonia. Item 11, discussion, possible action for authorization to create and fill 3 deputy sheriff positions to fulfill the intergovernmental agreement with the town of Patagonia. These are positions that have put in for our next fiscal year budget. Is that correct?
That is correct, and will be covered by the IGA mentioned above.
Great, good. So Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second? Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, and we look forward to your recruitment, Sheriff, and providing that service to our friends in the town of Patagonia. Let's see, let's go on to item 2, discussion, possible action for authorization to fill vacant legal assistant position in the county attorney's office. Everything in order there,
Yes, sir.
Madam Manager? Okay, Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Is there a second? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 3, discussion, possible action to approve the appointment of precinct committee persons for Santa Cruz County. A is Francisco J. Sauceda Jr., Nogales 8. B is Douglas J. Cook, Rio Rico 7. And C is Irene B. Eldersick from Rio Rico 7.
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And here in Santa Cruz County, we are bipartisan, so we make sure we, Democrats and Republican alike, we appoint them. Item 4, discussion, possible action to approve professional services agreement with Knowledge Capital Alliance to update the 2018 Santa Cruz County Health Services All Hazard Preparedness Plan and Public Health Emergency Operations from August 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021 in the amount of $22,000. Everything in order there? Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 5, discussion, possible action to approve contract with Constructing Circles of Peace for pretrial assessment and supervision services for Justice of the Peace and Superior Court during fiscal year 2021, 2022. Everything in order there, Madam Manager?
Yes, sir.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Item 6, discussion, possible action to approve the renewal of SOA carrier services agreement with CenturyLink for broadband services for an annual amount of $8,400. Everything in order?
Yes, sir.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 7, discussion, possible action to approve the renewal of SOA carrier services agreement with CenturyLink for PRI services, phone services, for an annual amount of $10,764. Once again, everything good?
Yes, sir.
Great. Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Item 8, discussion, possible action to accept the USDA Rural Business Enterprise Grant Award for $60,500 and ratify the Community Development Director's signature and allow the Director to sign related documents. Everything in order through legal and everything?
Yes, sir. That's been reviewed by legal. The reason Mr. Dillon had to sign that was because they wanted it returned by June 30th. And so we're just asking the board to ratify and then allow him to sign any additional paperwork that may come.
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second?
And I will second.
Discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank Frank Dillon, Community Development Office, for working on this grant. This is something that's going to help small businesses in our community. It has started kind of a cascading of events. It started in Chubac, it's gone to Rico, it's now working in Nogales, and it's working in Sonoyta. So I just really want to thank for that kind of vision, and also everybody else that has pitched in to make this thing happen. Ivan Dressler from the Chubac Chamber of Commerce that brought this forward to us, so thank you.
Great. Any other comments or
No, sir.
discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 9, discussion possible action to approve cooperative purchase contract number 21CO34 with GovernmentJobs.com Inc., a California corporation, DBA NeoGov, for implementation of NeoGov HR software recruit module in the amount of $49,068.60. Everything good to go on that one?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, if I may, this will help our recruitment process and our job application. Supervisor Malera had asked me to get the dollar amount that was going to be paid by grants because there is a grant component to this. And then the $49,000 is over 3 years. Supervisor Malera, I was unable to get that exact amount yet, but I will get that and get back to you. I know Mr. Chavez has some information on the grants, but we're also waiting from the health department to see exactly what's going to be approved.
Perfect.
We've budgeted the entire amount in the general fund under the board's budget, but a lot of that will be replaced with the grant money.
Okay, good.
Mr. Chair, it is a good tool, though.
Absolutely, yes, sir. It will help us be more efficient on our job postings, our finding out who's eligible for each job, And then the information is then input into our accounting software.
Great.
So it really cuts down on a lot of the clerical and paperwork that Sonia and Claire have to do right now.
Great. Good. Chair will entertain a motion then.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We will go down to item 12. Discussion, possible action to approve proclamation designating August 2021 as Child Support Awareness Month. Supervisor Maleta,
Move to approve.
do I hear a second?
I will second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, and I think it's important that parents pay their fair share of child support. Unfortunately, a lot of the children need that financing, whether it's for medical, for school supplies or clothing, or rent. So, thank you for that, Supervisor Maleta. Item 13, discussion possible action, recommendation of approval or disapproval of application for extension of premises patio permanent for the Flying Leap Vineyards, Inc. in Elgin. Madam Clerk, everything in order?
Yes, sir.
Great. Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Now second.
Second discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 14, approval of minutes of 7/6/2021. Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously and our minutes are approved. Item 15, monthly reports. Madam Clerk, are all the reports in?
Yes, sir. All reports are in.
Great. Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to accept the reports.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And good, that's 2 in a row. Hopefully we can continue the streak.
Nice streak.
Item 16, demands. Supervisor Maleta. Mr. Chair, move to approve demands totaling $1,517,410.35, of which $897,196.28 are from the general fund.
Do I hear a second?
I will second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We can pay our bills and continue to do business. So now we'll go back to item 1, County Supervisors Association report to the Board of Supervisors. Craig, I'd like to welcome you. I'm sure you're always glad to get out of the great state of Maricopa. I know you and your staff do an outstanding job representing the supervisors. I know that we have two organizations, but I know this year was a challenge, so I want to welcome you here and look forward to your report, sir. So,
well, thank you.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, I'm Craig Sullivan with the County Supervisors Association, and thank you so much for this opportunity to come down and visit with you. I have to tell you, it is so striking to drive in southern Arizona after the rains. It was absolutely beautiful out there, and so thanks for giving me that gift of coming down here and seeing how beautiful it is. I have to tell you, I was a little struck when I got off at Mariposa. Somebody's put an overpass there that wasn't there last time I came down. Pretty remarkable. And also, you know, I wanted to thank you for your involvement in the association. Each of you is so involved in everything that we do. Obviously, over the last 18 months, that's all been via Zoom. But I could always count on you to be there representing Santa Cruz County and to have your voice at our table, participating in our advocacy. And so thank you very much for that. You're real leaders for this community. And I wanted to acknowledge as well Chairwoman St. John. She leads our managers group. She was selected by her colleagues to chair our managers group, which is really awesome. You may view it as indentured servitude, but please know we all benefit from it mightily, and so thank you for that. There's no absence of Santa Cruz representation and involvement in our association. I'm so grateful for that.
That's great.
What I'd like to do here today, I gave you the document. There's a lot of content in it. I won't go through all of it. But what I want to do is just talk a little bit about the activities of the association, what we've been involved in, And of course, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. To begin with, I would like to brief everybody on a little bit about who we are, because not everybody in the room may be familiar with us. The County Supervisors Association is a collaboration of the 15 counties. It's a nonpartisan organization that serves as a forum for supervisors and management staff to come together and talk about the issues that are impacting local constituents. We also serve as an advocacy entity working with the state legislature and Congress and others to help represent the interests of the counties and their constituents. So we're essentially an intergovernmental office. And that's important because as all of you work here in your region, you're impacted by entities that are outside of your region. And so by coming together as a collaboration of 15 counties, we're able to have a collective voice with the state legislature, state agencies, the federal government, the court system, and others. And so it's a very efficient way for all of the counties to come together, and I think it works out pretty well. We are driven by all 61 supervisors in the state. So every supervisor has a seat on our board of directors. We do have an executive committee that's selected to provide guidance and leadership to the organization. And Mr. Malera, again, thank you for serving as president last year, the most bizarre year of all time. But I thought you were very flexible and managed it very effectively, and so thank you for that.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Yeah. And we also have what we call our Legislative Policy Committee that's open to all of the county supervisors, but we do tap one voice per county to help us with voting on legislative policies. I talked a little bit that we're a forum for collaboration and information sharing. This is just a list of the various speakers that we had come through the last year, and it gives you a sense of the conversations that we're having, and we're working on our next plan for engagement going into the next year. And we also work directly, as I mentioned, with the managers group, but also with the planners, the finance directors, the engineers. It really strengthens the collaboration of professional staff across all the counties. So I want to share a couple of slides about strategic initiatives. The first is our research and data initiative. So foundationally, what our organization does is develop information that can be used to improve decision-making at the local level or at the state legislature and other decision-making entities. We have been developing a massive database of information to support that. And Vanessa Fielder on our team has been managing that effort of late, and she's transitioned it all to an online platform. And so I just want to highlight that for you. A lot of this information is on our website in what we call our county encyclopedia, our county revenue dashboard, and our county employment dashboard. And the revenue dashboard in particular was fascinating to watch over the course of the pandemic because we watched the economy change as restaurants and motels just fell off the cliff, but then certain construction items just shot up. And we tracked that monthly by class, by county. It was very, very interesting to watch. That information is available to you and your professional staff, and we will continue to build it out. A second strategic initiative is on public safety pensions. We've been involved for some time in the reform effort at the legislature on public pensions. But as you know, there's a significant cost associated with these. And so we have been spending a lot of staff time working on analyzing the public safety pension system in particular, CORP and EORP as well, and trying to build capacity in the counties to understand the magnitude of this problem, as well as building our ability to work with the pension system to improve decision-making at the pension system. And so that's something we're going to continue to do. We have placed a board member on the PSPRS Board of Trustees, that Alan McGuire, who came forward as a part of our deliberations, and he's representing us. We also were involved in the hire of the new administrator. We have to make sure that this system is managed in the most cost-effective way possible. And then the next piece, strategic initiative that I wanted to talk about is the COVID response. None of us picked to have to deal with the pandemic, but over the last 18 months, our role was really a collaborative one, trying to bring the counties together to talk about issues. We also worked on the federal resource piece, making sure that resources from the CARES Act came down to the counties, and then in the ARP round, making sure that all counties receive direct allocations. And you'll note that there was a partnership with the National Association of Counties. They did a great job. Supervisor, you are our representative of the National Association of the Counties. I think they earned their dues mightily this year on that effort, and thanks for your leadership on their board. Where we are now on the COVID response, though, is working through how to utilize the federal resources that have been allocated. So we have been roundtabling this with the managers. We have been crafting questions for Treasury about how to use those dollars. The deadline was last week to get those questions in. So we're poring over the guidance, trying to influence the final rule, and that should be coming out, say, in a month or so. And what we're seeing across the state is that counties are really taking a pause to see how the rules shake out, because there are a lot of questions about what's permissible within those rules and how to manage the resources over the full time horizon. And so we're seeing a lot of our counties just taking a pause, seeing what information's available, and then deploying. And that was a tip that came forward when we were at the National Association too. Kind of let this play out and let's see what we're dealing with. Now, before I moved off the COVID piece, I do want to extend or applaud how you all operated through the pandemic. I'll tell you, I saw each of you working late in regular days and then through the weekend. I saw Ms. St. John taking appointments by hand for vaccines. It was remarkable how you all performed, and the data shows it. So really kudos to all of you. You played above your weight class throughout the pandemic, and so I just want to applaud your efforts for that.
Thank you.
Now, moving into a little bit about the legislative session, if I could back up one slide. So now that the session's over, we're preparing summaries of all the county relevant bills. There are about 280, and your professional staff are going to have to implement them here locally. So we're doing a summary document. The general effective date for new bills is September 28th, and so that's when we'll have to be positioned to implement the new laws. Now, on the state budget, let me share a couple of things. We'll jump up 2 slides here. One more slide. Thank you. Okay, so this is the state budget plan. What I've got on the left are the major funding items that they pursued, and then the tax package on the right. A couple of things that I wanted to share. The legislature had a lot of money on the table, and so it addressed infrastructure, which we'll talk about in a moment, as well as debt repayment. They put about $2 billion towards debt repayment, which is a pretty significant thing. $1 billion of that went to PSPRS and corp liability, pension liability, and then the other $1 billion went to paying off recession-era policies, right? Buying the lottery back and paying off or buying buildings back that they had put out there. They also gave pay raises across state government. On the tax package, there are 2 elements that are relevant here. One is the income tax cut, where they are essentially trying to move to a flat tax for income tax purposes. Right now, we have a tiered tax system of 4 tiers. They want to migrate this down to about 2.5% ultimately if revenue numbers prevail. Right now, it's going to 2 tiers, but if revenue numbers exceed certain targets, they'll take it down to 2.5%. This was a big concern of the cities because they get shared revenues for income tax purposes. Ultimately, they did get an increase in their share of income taxes, and so they're relatively held harmless. There may be some issues in that, but that was a big deal that the league was able to secure. What we don't know is obviously the trajectory of state finances and what changing this tax rate will mean to their ability to meet their obligations at the state level. The other piece I wanted to point out is the property tax change. Now, this is something that really impacts counties. The state doesn't really have a property tax. It is a very small one, but counties rely heavily on the property tax. What they've done is they have shifted what's called the assessment ratio for commercial properties from 18% down to 16% between now and 2025. What that does is it shifts the overall mix of the property tax base. So commercial properties are assessed at 10%, businesses at 18%. They're going to shift that. So it does erode your property tax base when that occurs. If you choose to recapture that by raising the property tax, and there is upward pressure on property taxes in a plan like this, the overall shift moves more to homeowners. We did oppose this change. One of the ways they addressed our opposition was to do what's called increase the homeowner's rebate. So that's a subsidy to homeowners. And so that, to the extent a rate is increased, it mitigates some of the impacts. It's imperfect because it's only on the primary, doesn't address secondary, and then there are other figures that may determine whether a homeowner actually gets full relief. So that was put in law. It was a priority of the Republican caucus to pursue this, and ultimately the governor, and it'll be something that we'll have to manage too over the next few years. A few other budget items. We were pleased that the legislature did repeal the county payments to the State Department of Revenue. This was a policy put in place during the recession, so that'll save your county about $30,000. And they put a lot of money on the table for infrastructure across the state. I did want to highlight the long-term care contributions. Santa Cruz County taxpayers pay about $2.2 million for long-term care. It's a state program. You have to levy it on your property tax and send it to the state. This dollar amount is slightly lower than what we projected earlier, only because the federal government has increased the amount of resources to the state for this program temporarily. And so this is something I'm trying to caution the finance folks that that's going to bounce back up going forward in the next fiscal year, in all likelihood. We'll bounce over to the next one, if I can get that. So the next two slides are just county relevant items. Next slide, please, if we can get that. I did want to highlight one on this list, the probation item. So the legislature did make a policy change as it relates to funding probation. Probation officers are essentially part of the state judiciary. They did provide some resources to pay for pay raises that had occurred, but they changed the policy that in the future, pay increases for probation officers will be fully absorbed by the counties. So that's new. And as you know, the state has always provided that payment because they are state officers in the judiciary. The court system makes the rules. The county doesn't really have a role in that. So that's something we're going to have to work on in the next session. Next slide. The next slide, this slide's just about the road money that they put on the table, $90 million for preservation. And this slide highlights the broadband infrastructure money. So they did capitalize the Arizona Commerce Authority to the tune of $100 million for grants, $75 million of which are specifically for rural broadband projects and planning. So please know that's on the table. The next slide, they had a special session related to fire. Every county's had a fire. Every county's probably having flood incidences. They put $100 million on the table for that. Now, we'll transition a little into CSA bills. So this is on the right, what you see is the handout we use to advocate for a series of bills we put in the process. The only one I want to talk about is the transient lodging tax. That's something that we have attempted to advance. That would be a tool that counties could use. We did find this year that in the legislative mix, there's not a path to success with the current makeup on an issue like that. That can always change, but we did find significant opposition in the House by the chairwoman of Ways and Means, as well as some other key staffers. And one item I was watching through this was that the industry brought forward an assessment on hotels to do marketing, and that bill failed. And it's the third year that it's been brought forward, and it wasn't able to move forward because of the anti-taxation tools mentality at the legislature. So I just wanted to highlight that because there were some of the counties that thought that might be an applicable tool. Probably going to have to wait for some context changes at the legislature to move that. On reactive advocacy, I'll go very quickly here. A couple of things that I wanted to highlight. But first, this is where we're doing a ton of summaries on bills that passed. And I want to compliment the work that Robin and Michael on my team do, as well as the collaboration with ACO. You mentioned the Arizona Association of Counties. who represents the constitutional officers. This is where we really work as a team to get after bills that impact county operations. And nowhere was that more significant than in the election field, where we worked with Jen Marson and her team on the 130 election-related bills that came into the process. The ones on the left actually passed. The primary item had to do with changing the rules around the permanent early voting list, where if folks aren't using it, voting by mail over 2 years, then they're notified that they may be removed from the permanent early voting list. And on the right, you can see a whole slew of bills that did not make it, but they deal with automatic recounts, ID on mail-in ballots, and things like that. We may see those again next year. There also was a bunch of policy put in the budget, and when the legislature has time on their hands, and when they have a very narrow majority, they start figuring out what they can shove into the budget, and that's what happened here. 2 items that I'll point out. One is on the left at the top, Election Integrity Fund. There has been allocated $12 million to be available to recorders for election security. We're not entirely sure what that's all going to look like, but we'll have to monitor it. And then the other piece is that we do anticipate the Senate Government Committee to convene to talk about the election audit that the Senate has initiated. And that could happen this summer and will require a lot of our time as well. Pandemic related, a whole lot of conversations about governance, what mandates should be allowable. You can see some of the items that passed. Evidently, folks didn't like masks, so there was multiple efforts to restrict that. And they did it in multiple ways. What I was most interested in was just the whole gubernatorial power, because there was a lot of conflict about, do we just let the governor have this power? When do we get it back in play? There were efforts to change that authority. They didn't do it through the bill process. They did put something in the budget, and it's over there on the right, that starting in January 2023, there is a restriction on how long a public health emergency would last before the legislature can reconvene. This happens in some other states. I don't know what it might mean, how it would change the dynamics. I was interested that 2023 is when a new governor comes in.
Well, did they also take away some of Secretary of State's powers that gave it to the Attorney General?
They did. That was as elected related until the next.
Until the next 2023. Yeah.
And this slide I just wanted to share with you. It gives you the diversity of issues that our team works on. I won't belabor it too much. And then a list of a bunch of dead bills. The final slide is really about going forward. It's rare that we go this long having a legislative session, and it really does set back getting prepared for the next one. This was the 3rd longest legislative session that we've had in the history. It's the longest that we had since 2009. And so, but nonetheless, we got to get ready for the next legislative session. Right now, we're doing all our recaps, working with the various affiliate groups. 4 proposals that you may want to bring forward. If you could, please let us know by August 8th. It doesn't have to be perfectly vetted out. We just need a heads up so we can get it in our process. And then we do hope to convene in Prescott this year to do our legislative summit and set our agenda. And I really look forward to having all of you there. So, Mr. Chairman, I know I took a lot of time, and I thank you for your indulgence. But I'd be happy to stand for any questions or comments from the board.
It was a very interesting legislative session this year, probably mainly because of the elections and what's happening in Maricopa County, what's happening throughout our country. But, given the circumstances, I think you and your staff did an outstanding job, especially working with ACO to try to either kill or modify some of, and I will say it, and this is me speaking as me, some vindictive legislation that was going on there. I think at the end of the day, when you look at everything that's done, whether it's the commercial tax break and even the 1-year tax rebate for homeowners. At the end of the day, unfortunately, we as county boards sometimes have to look at passing increases on to our constituents, to our residents, which is not fair to them because the state could do a better job of maybe having more dollars flow into the communities to offset some of those costs. Infrastructure, of course, going to be big, but I think at the end of the day, everything that was accomplished, I guess it's the best. Maybe, hopefully, there would have been some other things that would have helped us out, but I think given the circumstances, I think you guys had a great offensive plan, and you also had a great defensive plan, and I think sometimes you don't get everything you want, but I think there was a lot of compromises, and I think some of the important things about our organizations are that you have commitments and contacts with leadership, and that's where we try to make things happen. Sometimes they agree, sometimes it's a fight, and sometimes we don't get what we want, but you guys have done an outstanding job, and I look forward to getting together in Yavapai and get our legislative agenda for next year. We'll make sure we submit some of our issues, and hopefully we can continue to do the good fight and continue to protect the interests of counties and residents, and hold them hold them harmless as much as possible, because unfortunately, whether it's county government, whether it's education, whether it's anything else, at the end of the day, it's our constituents usually have to pay a heavier price. So thank you for that. Vice Chairman Brecker, anything to add?
I do. Thank you very much, Chairman Reese. Craig, I'd like to thank you and your staff for all the hard work that you do. I was on the phone countless times with either you or your staff inquiring about different bills. I don't think people realize that when a state legislature introduces 1,700 bills in a session, the amount of work that it takes to track, and what the CSA is doing is they're tracking the bills that are going to affect the counties. There's also another organization called ACO, and they're tracking everything that affects all departments of counties, but this is really mostly the stuff that is going to affect supervisors, is what you do for us. There's also the League of Counties, Cities and Towns. They work to advocate for cities and towns. It's really quite a process. I know that I went to testify up in Phoenix. With this many bills, they're limiting the amount of time that people have to speak on different bills to 1 minute. That happened in numerous committees. This is not the first year that that's happened. It's unfortunate. This is not an open process at this point. It's just the legislature is proposing, and if you have a majority, you're moving your bills through unless there's a conflict in there. Mm-hmm. But the work that you do representing us is admirable. You guys did a tremendous job this year, as you do every year. We come out at the other end of this thing going, it could have been much worse.
Yep, absolutely.
So thank you very much for the work.
It's our pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Supervisor Maleta and past president of the association. Comments?
Well, I agree with everything you guys said. The hard work that you and your staff put into legislation is amazing, and I got to witness it firsthand. And it's, I thank you. I thank you for keeping it nonpartisan. Sure. I think you all do an amazing job of keeping it nonpartisan, especially the way this year kind of turned. It was really tricky, and you all handled it great, and we really appreciate what you do for our counties and for Santa Cruz County. And that's all I have. Thank you again, Craig.
And then, of course, this year was interesting because how many new supervisors do we have?
Yeah, we had 21 and out of 61. So that was pretty remarkable.
So a third of the supervisors were new, and so you lose a lot of institutional memory with some of the retired supervisors. So it was a challenge. And Jennifer, you know, I know that she was up there all the time with the managers. I guess she's the dean of the managers now, I think. So you kept her busy, but you know, once again, Greg, thank you for what you and staff do. Thank you for sending out all those emails, you know, response needed, for allowing us to you even set up our logins so that we can go in and if we're opposed to a bill, sign in and say we're opposed to it, or if we support it, to support it. A lot of hard work, so thank you. So Jennifer?
Supervisor Reese, if I could too. So we understand that Craig works for the supervisors, but he also has 13 out of 15 new county managers as well. So, and we are very active, and on behalf of the county managers, Mauricio, Frank, Jesus, Juan, all of these, you know, our directors have met at CSA, and we just really appreciate not only your hospitality, but all the knowledge that you give our staff. We're usually calling you at the last minute, trying to find out how that affects us or get information. And I just couldn't be prouder of your team and really appreciate the support you've given me over my 20 years here at the county and the last 6 as county manager. So thank you, Supervisor Reese. Thank you, Craig, and to the team.
Thank you.
Well, great. If there are any other comments or anything, Craig, thank you so much for making the trek down. We would invite you to open a CSA South. We'll find some specialists.
I'd like to thank County Manager St. John. I know she was voluntold to step up and be the chairman of the managers meeting, but it's a lot of work. She's got a lot of experience, and I know that these new county managers, especially some of the smaller ones, are calling her on a regular basis. We're lucky to have her, and thank you very much.
That's why I said she's the dean of the county managers. So anyway, thank you so much, and we look forward to meeting in person again, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So I believe that we have concluded the people's business, and the last item on the agenda is to adjourn. So Chairman, do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned.